Hello, class. This is me, Teacher Danica. But before I start with the lesson, I want you to see to it with a picture. What have you seen from the picture? Guess the word. Since it is a 4 picks 1 word, you should guess the picture for what will be our topic for today. So, can you please cooperate with me for today and listen well so that we could end our lesson very clearly and successfully? Yes, correct. So, you guessed it right. So, our lesson for today is all about the moon. So, after guessing the word, you might have an idea about what is the moon, and of course, you already know what is the moon. But let me introduce to you a video. Let me show to you a video presentation so that you can further understand what truly a moon is and how does it form.
Over 150 moons orbit the solar system's planets, and one of those moons calls Earth home. The moon was formed about 4.5 billion years ago when, according to one theory, the Earth slammed into another early planet. Debris from this collision began to orbit Earth and accumulated, forming today's moon. The moon is the 5th largest natural satellite in the solar system, with a diameter just under the width of China. It's composed of an iron-rich core, plus a mantle and crust containing minerals made of magnesium, oxygen, and silicon. The moon's surface was once geologically active and covered in an ocean of magma. But today, apart from traces of water ice, the surface is completely covered in dust and rocky debris. Countless craters dot the moon's surface, each formed by objects such as meteoroids, comets, and asteroids crashing onto the moon. The largest crater, the South Pole Aitken Basin, spans across a quarter of the moon's surface and is nearly deep enough to fit Mount Everest inside. The moon orbits our planet at an average distance of 30 Earths. It rotates at the same rate that it revolves. So as it revolves around our planet, the same side of the moon faces the Earth at all times. From the Earth's surface, we can observe 8 distinct traditionally recognized stages of the moon's illumination. Called lunar phases, they have been observed for thousands of years and even provided the basis for the earliest calendars. For most of human history, the moon could only be studied from afar. But on July 20th, 1969, humans were able to close that distance with the American spaceflight mission Apollo 11.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It placed humans on the moon for the very first time, bringing our understanding of Earth's only natural satellite.
Thank you, students, for watching patiently. So, I am going to introduce to you the lesson proper for today so that you can further understand all about the moon. Let us define what is a moon. A moon is the brightest and largest object in our night sky. The moon makes Earth a more livable planet by moderating our home planet's wobble on its axis, leading to a relatively stable climate. It also causes tides, creating a rhythm that has guided humans for thousands of years. The moon was likely formed after a Mars-sized body collided with Earth several billion years ago. Earth's moon is the only place beyond Earth where humans have set foot so far. Earth is only naturally satellite that is simply called the moon because people didn't know other moons existed until Galileo Galilei discovered 4 moons orbiting Jupiter in 1610. In Latin word class, the moon is called luna, which is the main adjective for all things moon-related or the lunar. So right after defining what is the moon, let's go on about knowing how does the moon really form. Do you find it interesting? Okay, let's dig it on. So, how does it really form? The moon looks peaceful in the Earth's sky, but its story has a violent beginning. 4.5 billion years ago, the planets of our solar system were still forming. The young proto Earth glowed at more than 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. An object the size of Mars occupied by an object close to Earth, making collision inevitable. The collision sprayed molten rock into orbit around the Earth. As the rock cools, it formed larger and larger clumps until the moon took shape just 1 month later. The moon formed a mere 14,000 miles from the Earth, but its orbit has been wandering ever since. The moon now lies 240,000 miles away. Evidence from the moon's violent formation comes from analyzing its composition. Future missions to the moon promised to deepen our knowledge for its composition and evolution. Okay, so do you have an idea about the man who first walked into the moon? Of course, you know the man who first walked into the moon, which is Neil Armstrong. But behind his success, there were also astronauts who was with them. Do you know who they are? Let me introduce them to you. So, let us dig deeper into the moon discovery, which is the moonwalk. NASA officials selected Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins as the astronauts who would make the historic trip from Earth on Apollo 11. Just 4 days after launching from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The spacecraft neared the moon's surface on July 20, 1969. Millions of people gathered around their televisions to watch 2 U.S. astronauts do something no one had ever done before. See? Wearing bulky spacesuits and backpacks on oxygen to breathe, Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin became the first human beings to walk on the moon. After the two stepped onto the lunar surface, Armstrong proclaimed these famous words: "That's one small step for a man is a one giant leap for mankind." The Apollo 11 crew returned to Earth on July 24, 1969. Over the next several years, 10 astronauts would follow in Armstrong and Aldrin's footsteps. The last mission to the moon was in 1972. Though humans haven't returned to the moon since they have continued to explore space, they even built the International Space Station, or the ISS, a space research station where they can conduct experiments and study space up close. So, class, do you find it really interesting? Do you want it to be an astronaut someday? If you want it, then have it. Let's proceed to the next very important question, which is why does the same side of the moon always faces the Earth? Well, to know this, we must first understand 2 things. First one is the rotation. Rotation is the movement of the moon around its axis while revolution is the movement of the moon around the Earth. The moon keeps the same phase pointing towards the Earth because its rate of spin is tidally locked, so that it is synchronized with its rate of evolution, the time needed to complete one orbit. In other words, the moon rotates exactly once every time it circles the Earth. The moon makes a complete orbit around Earth in 27 Earth days and rotates or spins at the same rate, or in that same amount of time. Because Earth is moving as well, rotating on its axis as it orbits the Sun from our perspective. The moon appears to orbit us every 29 days. Well, class, have you wondered what is the size of the moon? Or have you questioned yourself after hearing the word moon? Do you know what its size, or do you have ahead research about the moon? Well, if you have an idea about it, then that's good. But for further understanding, I'm gonna give you a data about the moon's size. The moon's diameter is 2,159 miles, or 3,474 kilometers, which is 27% of the diameter of the Earth. Earth were the size of a nickel. The moon would be as big as coffee bean. The moon is an average of 238,855 or 384,400 kilometers away. So imagine, Earth is much bigger than the moon. And I think we already know that. Okay, learners, let's proceed. Let us dig in on about the moon's mass. Well, class, have you ever wondered also about the moon's mass and its gravity? Haven't you questioned that moon also has gravity like our Earth? Well, to answer, it has yes. And I'm gonna give you a piece of data about what I have researched about the moon's mass and gravity. So, the moon's mass is about 7.35 times 10 raised to 22 kilograms. Its gravitational force is about 1.62 meter per second squared. Its density is 3,340 kilogram per cubic meter. So, if you were standing in the moon, your mass or the amount of the stuff you've made wouldn't change. However, your weight would change because the gravity on the moon is much weaker than it is on Earth. Isn't it amazing? How about the moon's temperature? Do you know what is the temperature of the moon during daytime and nighttime? Well, the temperature in the moon ranges from daytime highs of about 130 degrees Celsius, or which is equivalent to 265 degrees Fahrenheit, to nighttime lows about 110 degrees Celsius, which is also equal to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So have you ever questioned yourself, does the moon have an atmosphere? Or if the moon has a gravity, do the moon also has an atmosphere like our Earth? Well, many have been so confused about the atmosphere. Does the moon have an atmosphere? So have you ever questioned yourself? Celsius, which is also equal to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So have you ever questioned yourself, does the moon have an atmosphere? Or if the moon has a gravity, do the moon also has an atmosphere like our Earth? Well, many have been so confused about the atmosphere of the moon. But does the moon really have an atmosphere? Well, to answer that question, The moon has a very thin and tenuous atmosphere called an exosphere. It is not breathable. In the cold lunar night, the exosphere falls to the ground. Elements in the lunar atmosphere include helium, argon, sodium, and potassium. Recent studies confirm that our moon does indeed have an atmosphere consisting of some unusual gases, including sodium and potassium, which are not found in the atmospheres of the Earth, Mars, or Venus. Several elements have been detected in the lunar atmosphere. Detectors left by Apollo astronauts have detected argon, helium, oxygen, methane, nitrogen, carbon, and carbon dioxide. Also, carbon monoxide. Earth-based spectrometers have detected sodium and potassium, while the Lunar Prospector Orbiter found radioactive isotopes of radon and polonium. Recently, scientists even found that water molecules less than a micrometer thick could survive on the lunar surface. In 2012, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter detected helium. So, if you wonder if the moon has an atmosphere, well, the answer is yes. Although it is just quite thin, unlike the Earth's atmosphere, which has many layers, which is the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and the exosphere. Comparing to the moon, that is only thin atmosphere, and also it is not breathable. Let's proceed to the moon's crater. Have you ever wondered the moon has a crater? Well, yes, from its picture. The crater is present. How about if we dig deeper using a telescope? Of course, we can clearly see moon's crater. So what is a crater? First things first, what is a crater? A crater is a bowl-shaped depression produced by the impact of a meteorite, volcanic activity, or an explosion. One looks at the moon in the night sky. One can see the battered surface that colliding asteroids and comets can produce on a planetary body. The impact craters on its surface are so large, they can easily be seen with the naked eye from your own backyard. These craters are also a testament to a bombardment that our planet Earth has suffered. The Earth-Moon system occupies the same part of our solar system, so the Earth was the target of the same swarm of colliding debris that hit the moon. So, if we wonder what is a moon's rails, are they similar to craters because they are both in the moon also? But to tackle all about that, the moon's rails a long and narrow valley on the moon, and appeared to have been formed by subsidence collapse of surface materials along a crustal fracture. Unlike the craters, they are formed a bowl-shaped, but the moon's rails are formed in a linear shape. Take a look at the picture. The Latin term is rima, or in plural, it's rimae. Typically, a rail can be several kilometers wide and hundreds of kilometers in length. Let's proceed to moon's libration. Have you ever heard moon's libration in your elementary days? Or just heard about the phases of the moon? Well, to discuss it all of you, in lunar astronomy, libration is the wagging or wavering of the moon perceived by earthbound observers and caused by changes in their perspective. It permits an observer to see slightly different hemispheres of the surface at different times. It is similar in both cause and effect to the changes in moon's apparent size due to changes in distance. It is caused by three mechanisms, two of which cause a relatively tiny physical vibration via tidal forces exerted by the Earth. Such true librations are known as well for other moons with locked rotation. It is a rocking movement of a moon. Librations cause us to view the moons in different angles at different times, enabling us to see about 59% of the moon's surface from the Earth. How about the moon's mare? The lunar maria are large, dark, basaltic plains on Earth's moon, formed by ancient asteroid impacts on the far side of the moon that triggered volcanic activity on the opposite side. Mare, or plural in Maria, means sea, but Maria on the moon are plains on the moon. They are called Maria because very early astronomers thought that these areas on the moon were great seas. These dark regions showed rock that formed quickly after the heat of impact. So literally, the moon's Maria are the one in dark shaped of our moon. Well, that's the end of our discussion. But first, let us not just end with that. I want you to participate. This is just a short period of time and I hope you will participate well. So I call this activity as Luna's Wonder Questions. I'm gonna ask you some questions. It is identification test and you must also answer it in a correct way. Okay? So the first question is that it is the only satellite of the Earth. It is the light that shines brightly during nighttime. So I guess you do have any idea what it is? The one who shines brightly during the nighttime. Yes, correct. The answer is moon. So the second question is, it is the rocking movement of the moon. It causes us to view the moon in different angles. Do you still remember why we people view the moon in different angles? You still remember that? I have just tackled or discussed with you earlier. Yes, the answer is moon's librations. So let's move on to the third question. It permits the observers to see slightly different hemispheres of the surface at different times. Well, it sounds so similar. But what is the answer? Well, Lunas, the answer is moon's libration also. Don't get confused. Why does the answers are repeated? It's just because I want to test your knowledge if you really do understand and comprehend about my discussion. So, the fourth question is that it was mistook by the early astronomers for actual seas. It is Mare, or in plural, it's Maria. The fifth question, what do you call the special case of tidal locking in which the moon rotates at the same rate as its orbital motion? I have flashed this on the PowerPoint presentation. So I guess you have read it? Yes, the correct answer is giant impact theory. So, thank you for listening well. I hope you do well and study well with your studies. And I also hope that you learned about my discussion, which is the Earth's moon. Get to know about the moon every night and you'll see how beautiful the moon and how useful the moon it is for our habitable planet, the Earth. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lunas.